We have learned about the different laws of indices. In this video, we will take a look at how we can apply the laws of indices to evaluate indices. Let's recall how an index form looks like. We have 49 to the power of half, where 49 is the base and half is the index. To evaluate this, it's the same as saying finding the value of this. Observe that 49 is a composite number. Can we write 49 as a product of its prime factors in index form? We know that 49 equals 7 times 7, and it can be expressed as 7 squared. Using this law of indices, we multiply the indices 2 and half to give us 7. Here, we have x to the power of half. Now x is a variable. Let's take x to be 16. Are you able to find the value of this? Again, 16 is a composite number. We should write 16 as a product of its prime factors. We know that 16 equals 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, and we can express it as 2 to the power of 4. By substituting 16 as 2 to the power of 4, we will get this. Similarly, by applying this law of indices, we can multiply the indices 4 and half to get 4. Let's apply what we have just learned on evaluating indices. Recall that this means 4 times x to the power of 1/3. When x equals 27, how can we find the value of y? Think about what we can do. Yes, we can first substitute x equals 27 into the equation, and we can write it like this. Now, what should we do with 27? You are right. We should write 27 as 3 times 3 times 3, which is 3 cubed. How do we simplify this further? Again, using this law of indices, we multiply the indices 3 and 1/3 to give us 3 to the power of 1, which is 3. Therefore, y equals 12. Look at this expression again. If y equals 20 now, are you able to find the value of x? Let's try this together. Like before, we can substitute y equals 20 into the equation. Since we want to find x, we need to make x the subject of formula. Now, let's rewrite the equation like this. What's next? We only want x to the power of 1/3, so we divide both sides of the equation by 4. We will have x to the power of 1/3 equals 5. Recall that x to the power of 1/3 is actually cube root of x. How can we get x to the power of 1? Yes, we can cube both sides of the equation. Hence, we will have x equals 125. Now, let's practice using a similar example. When q equals 25, what is the value of p? Similarly, we first need to substitute q equals 25 into the equation. By now, you should know that we can write 25 as 5 square. Thus, we will have p equals 3 times 5 square to the power of 3 over 2. Using this law of indices, we multiply the indices 2 and 3 over 2 to give us 5 cubed. Therefore, p equals 375. Let's look at the same expression again. Now, we know that p equals 81. What will be the value of q? Like before, we can substitute p equals 81 into the equation. Since we want to find q, we need to make q the subject of formula. Now rewriting the equation will give us this. Again, we only want q to the power of 3 over 2. So, we divide both sides of the equation by 3. We will have q to the power of 3 over 2 equals 27. Again, we can write q to the power of 3 over 2 as square root of q cubed. You should know by now that we can square both sides of the equation to get q cubed equals 729. To find q, just take cube root on both sides of the equation. Finally, we will have q equals 9.